As Todd said, tonight we're just going to talk about healthy eating. There's a lot that I'm going to go over, so some of it might be kind of quick. So if you have any questions, just feel free to stop me or write it down and you can ask me at the end, okay? Okay, so what is a healthy diet? What does a healthy diet look like? So a healthy diet contains lots of nutrient-dense foods. So nutrient-dense just means it gives you some nutrition and not a lot of calories. So you want to try to build your diet around these nutrient-dense foods. So fruits are nutrient-dense food. Fruits have lots of vitamins and minerals in them. They also contain fiber, and they're low in fat and cholesterol. Most fruits contain no fat or cholesterol. Coconut is an exception. Vegetables are also nutrient-dense foods. So vegetables, once again, are going to be low in fat, no cholesterol. They also contain fiber. So both fruits and vegetables are good heart-healthy foods to help prevent against heart disease. They also have lots of phytonutrients, so they can help prevent certain cancers. The recommendations for fruits is 2 cups a day, which most people do not get. And the recommendation for vegetables is to try to get 2.5 cups a day. And to get a variety of vegetables, not to eat the same vegetables every day, because each vegetable subgroup has its own special power. Whole grains are another nutrient-dense food. So whole grains, we're talking about brown rice, wild rice, whole grain pasta, wheat bread. So it's important to get at least 3 ounces of whole grains per day. The recommendation is to try to make at least half of your grain choices from whole grain sources. Cheerios is an example of a whole grain breakfast cereal. Most people need about 6 ounces of grains a day, so you want to try to get at least 3 of those from whole grain sources. Another nutrient-dense food is going to be lean protein. That's going to include things like chicken, turkey, fish, eggs, beans. Those are all lean types of protein. Other proteins, like beef and pork, you can find lean cuts of beef and pork. You just have to read the label a little bit more and then trim any of that visible fat from around the edges. Low-fat dairy is another nutrient-dense food. So dairy is where we get most of our calcium and vitamin D, which for aging is very important to help preserve and maintain your bone mass. So it's important to make sure we're getting dairy. If you don't drink milk, you can get your vitamin D and calcium from yogurt, or you can try a lactose-free milk. But dairy is important because if you're not getting enough dairy, you're probably not getting enough calcium and vitamin D. So these are all examples of what makes up a healthy diet, but a healthy diet also is one that helps achieve a calorie balance so that you can maintain a healthy body weight. So you want to eat lots of nutrient-dense foods, but you also want to stay within your calorie needs so that you don't gain weight. So what does a healthy diet limit? So there's certain foods that don't really fit within a healthy diet. Those are going to be foods that have a lot of added sugars. So added sugars can be found in things like sweet tea, regular soda, cakes, candy, cookies. The recommendation is to try to limit added sugars to less than 10% of your calorie needs. So we'll get to calories later on in the presentation, but for most people that would be about 100 to 200 calories a day from added sugar. So it's not saying that you can never have a sweet, you just want to try to limit it. You don't want to have a sweet at every meal. Other nutrients to limit are going to be things like saturated and trans fats. So these are the ones that are not heart healthy. So eating more saturated and trans fat than you need can increase your risk of heart attack and stroke. So saturated fat is going to be found in meat and meat products. So it'll be found in any type of meat, but it's also found in butter. And then things that are made from meat, so like milk and things that have butter in them. So those can be high in saturated fat, some of your baked goods. Trans fat is one of those partially hydrogenated oils. So it's found a lot in deep fried foods, so that's why we always recommend avoiding fried foods if possible, just limiting those at special occasions. Most restaurants have gone away from using an oil that has trans fat in them, but you just can't tell. So unless they state it, you might want to ask if what their type of oil is. But trans fat was also found in your traditional stick margarine, so it was found in things like biscuits and pastries that were made with margarine. So that's another nutrient you want to try to limit. Sodium. Sodium is a big one because sodium is directly related to heart disease, hypertension, and chronic kidney disease. So eating too much sodium or too much salt can increase your risk for those 3 diseases. And sodium directly affects your blood pressure. So people that have problems with their blood pressure want to try to limit sodium. Or if you have congestive heart failure, limiting sodium can help limit the amount of fluid your body retains, and so that can help your heart work a little easier. So most Americans consume about 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of sodium per day. The recommendation for most Americans is 2,300 milligrams a day is the upper limit you'd want to consume. But there's certain subgroups of the population, so anyone over the age of 51, any African American, anyone that has hypertension, diabetes, or kidney disease, your limit goes down to 1,500 milligrams a day to try to prevent any adverse effects for those conditions. And then some populations are just at higher risk for kidney disease and hypertension, so that's why those groups have to limit it to about 1,500 milligrams per day. They're just more sensitive to the salt. And then alcohol. So a healthy diet doesn't exclude alcohol. It just wants you to consume alcohol in moderation. So they say moderation is 2 drinks a day for men or 1 drink a day for women. So those are some of the nutrients that a healthy diet limits. So why is healthy eating important? We just looked at what a healthy diet was, what it limits, but why is it important? Well, a healthy diet is important because it helps prevent obesity. In America, there's about a third of the population are classified as obese, meaning their BMI is over 30. But another third of the population is classified as overweight. So 2/3 of Americans are either overweight or obese. Obesity is related to several chronic diseases: heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and kidney disease. Those 5 diseases are in the top 10 leading cause of death for Americans. You can see heart disease is the #1 killer in America, followed closely by cancer. Both of those are related to diet and lifestyle factors, so we can call those preventable deaths because they could have been prevented with a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. So the current American diet, let's look at that for just a minute. There's a lot of underconsumed nutrients. So we talked about a healthy diet and what that looked like, but there's certain nutrients that Americans just don't consume enough of. Our diet is just not high in those, and that's going to be things like whole grains. 99% of the American population does not meet the recommended amounts of whole grains on a daily basis, so that means there's only 1% of the population that's actually eating enough whole grains each day. 90% of the American population does not eat the recommended amount of vegetables, so that's 90% does not eat that 2.5 cups a day. 85% of Americans don't eat the recommended amount of fruits each day, and then 80% of Americans don't get the recommended amounts of dairy. So we're under-consuming a lot of those nutrient-dense foods that were shown to be part of a healthy diet. The things we're over-consuming were on that slide that had the things in a healthy diet you'd want to limit. So we overconsume things like saturated fats, sodium, and added sugars. 90% of adults consume more than the recommendations for saturated fat, sodium, and added sugars. And 100% of children consume too much added sugars and too much saturated fat. We also consume more refined grains than we do whole grains. So if we looked back at the causes of death there's 5 of them that are diet related, and we look at what our diet is, we can see that if we keep eating the same things and don't change anything, the top 10 causes of death are probably going to stay relatively the same and have those diet related causes of death in there. So if you would like to change and try to reduce your risk of chronic disease, that is one of the reasons that eating healthy is so important. So to reduce your risk of chronic disease like obesity, heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, and certain cancers, 2 cancers that are specifically diet-related are breast and colorectal cancers. Healthy eating is also important because it can help you achieve and maintain a healthy body weight. So this is just a key point. Healthy eating and regular physical activity can help you achieve and maintain a healthy body weight and can also reduce your risk of chronic diseases. So there's lots of reasons to eat healthy. All right, so when we say eat healthy and we say we need to stay within our calorie needs, this is just a chart, and I just picked some age groups and just showed what the average calorie needs are for that age group. Obviously, calorie needs vary by your height, your weight, how old you are. So these are just general for those age groups. And then you can see you get more calories if you're more active. So if you are moderately active, you get a few more calories, and if you're very active, you can eat more each day and stay within your calorie needs. You can see as we age, so as we get older, our calorie needs decrease. So somebody that's younger needs more calories, they're more active, and their body's more metabolic than somebody that's older. So women, these are roughly the same age groups. You can see that women need a little bit less calories than men. So girls out there, that's one of the bad things about being a lady. We don't get to eat quite as much as men do. And then you can see with women, it's the same pattern. As we age, we don't need as many calories. With the activity levels, sedentary is if you're just doing the activities of daily living, like just getting up, brushing your teeth, going to the grocery store. If you're moderately active, like you walk, either planned walking like exercise around Cherokee Lake or just walking a lot in your job or in your activities each day, you're probably considered moderately active. And then if you do any sort of vigorous exercise like riding a bike or going to a workout class at the gym, you're probably fall in that active category. So these are just roughly what your calorie needs are if you wanted to know. So for weight loss, so if you don't like the weight that you're at right now and you want to lose weight, you'd want to subtract 500 calories a day from that number. So say you're at the 1,800 calories right now, and you want to lose weight, your calorie needs are going to go down to about 1,300 calories a day. Divide that by 3 meals, that's roughly 400 calories a meal. If you want to gain weight, you do the opposite and add 500 calories to that number. So if you're underweight or if you're trying to lose weight, you take what your basic calorie needs are and add an extra 500 calories. So that was men, and this is women. All right, so everybody's heard of a BMI, hopefully. Hopefully your doctor will tell you what this number is when you go to the doctor. So a BMI is just a measure of your body fat. It's based on your height versus your weight. So these are the BMI categories. So whatever your number is, you can see which category it falls in. So obesity, that was 1/3 of the Americans were obese with a BMI of greater than 30. Another third of Americans are overweight with a BMI of greater than 25. So just try to be aware of what your BMI is and know that if it's above 25, you're at higher risk for some of those chronic diseases. And if it's above 30, your risk is even higher. Okay, so some people are doing Live Better in here. Can I get a show of hands of who was a Live Better participant? Yay, I'm glad y'all came tonight. Okay, so y'all know what Live Better is, but for those of you that don't know, Live Better is an Archibald-led effort of key community leaders to try to help reduce the risk of chronic disease and reduce the rates of obesity and enrich the lives of the people in Thomas County. So they have partnered with different organizations in the community. They've also partnered with different restaurants in our community. We have 4 Live Better restaurant partners right now. George and Louise is one, Barbaritos, Smoothie King, and Yoburst. So when you go to those restaurants, they have highlighted their menu items that fall within our Live Better criteria. Barbaritos, I'm sorry, I don't have pictures of all the restaurants, but Barbaritos was the only one I could get to. But this is just a little picture that greets you when you walk in the front door, and it has on their menu what fits our Live Better criteria. So, what is the Live Better criteria? So we just set this guideline. I'm so sorry, I'm not used to talking this long. We set this guideline, and so for an entree to be a Live Better criteria, it has to have less than 500 calories, less than 20 grams of fat, and less than 600 milligrams of sodium, and it also has to have no trans fat in it. That's just the entree though, so it's not going to be like a meal if you had sides with it. And then you can see also what the appetizer guidelines are. So, a nutrition label. This is another place that you can kind of look and find nutrition facts. So a nutrition label can be confusing to some people, but really it's just there as a tool for you to use to make healthy choices. So they're actually changing the nutrition label. The new label will go out. Some packaging already has the new label on it, but it doesn't have to be in effect until next summer. But you can see on the new label, they've made the serving size bigger because the first thing you want to look for on the label is look at the serving size, because this is what the manufacturer says that one serving of their product is. So like in this example, the serving size is 2/3 of a cup, but if you were eating, a cup and a half, you would have to multiply everything on this label by 2. So the calories that are listed right here are going to be the calories per serving. So the calories per 2/3 of a cup. It's not going to be the calories in the whole package. You can see there's 8 servings in the container. So if you ate the whole package, you would have to multiply that number by 8. So the things that we look for that we want to try to limit are going to be these first 3 things that are listed right here. So the total fat, saturated fat, trans fat, those are all nutrients you would want to limit. Cholesterol is another nutrient you want to limit, and then sodium. For people that are diabetic, you would also need to look at this total carbohydrate number. I always tell my diabetic patients, don't worry about the total sugars, because the total carbohydrate, this is the number that's going to affect your blood sugar. This is what you should go by right there. So this percent daily value really just confuses a lot of people, so you really don't need to pay too much attention to that. Just know that if it's a high percentage, it's going to be high in that nutrient. So you want to try to stay away. So you can see this one has 20%, it meets 20% of your added sugars for the whole day. So you want to stay away from this because it has a lot of added sugar in it. But these numbers aren't really hard science. Just pay more attention to these nutrients right here. And just remember, so look at the sodium. For those that have hypertension, your limit was 1,500 milligrams a day. So just pay attention to things like that. And so know that these top ones are the ones you kind of want to limit. And then if you're watching your weight, you want to look at the calories. And then keep in mind your needs when you're planning your meals and your snacks. Okay, so these were the Live Better guidelines. We looked at kind of what a nutrition label looks like so that you can look at some of the things in your pantry at home and next time you go grocery shopping. But I went ahead and pulled some fast food nutrition facts from the web. So this is an example. I just pulled McDonald's since we have a McDonald's in town, but you can put any fast food restaurant in that spot and the calories are probably going to be roughly the same. So this is a value meal at McDonald's. It has a Big Mac. You can see that just the Big Mac itself has 540 calories. It has 28 grams of fat, 46 grams of carbohydrate, and 950 milligrams of sodium. So obviously it would not be a Live Better approved entree. If you add the fries to that, the calorie level goes up to 1,050 calories, 52 grams of fat, and 1,300 milligrams of sodium. And then if you add something sweetened to drink, you're already up at 1,200 calories, 52 grams of fat, 150 grams of carbohydrate, and 1,330 milligrams of sodium. That's in one meal. So if you go back to those calorie levels, most women, the calorie levels was going to be between 1,600 and 1,800. And then for men, they get about 2,200. So this would be almost all of what a woman would need to eat in a day and half of what a man would need to eat in one day. And you're way over your sodium for a meal. All right, what about chicken sandwiches? Would that be any healthier? All right, so these are some of McDonald's chicken sandwiches. You can see that the fried chicken sandwich has 570 calories just in the sandwich. The grilled chicken sandwich has 380 calories, so that's okay. And then the Southwest grilled chicken sandwich has 350 calories. So you can see that the chicken sandwiches are much less in fat. So like the hamburger had 28 grams of fat, where the fried chicken one has the most, and it has 23. carbohydrate's going to be about the same, but the sodium is still really high. And once again, this is just the sandwich. This isn't including the fries or anything else you had to eat. So all of these would fall out of the Live Better category, even though they're chicken, and people think that chicken's healthier than a burger, but they're all high in sodium. All right, so a better choice at McDonald's would be something that had a smaller portion size. So like the kid size hamburger is the healthiest choice at McDonald's. It only has 250 calories, it has 8 grams of fat and 31 grams of carbohydrate and only 480 milligrams of sodium. So if you got the kids meal with the small fries and something unsweetened drink, your whole meal is going to have 470 calories, 19 grams of fat, and roughly 640 milligrams of sodium, which is right on that line for what our Live Better criteria is. So it's important just to be aware of what's in the food that you're eating, especially the food that you eat frequently. Some people eat fast food every day or a couple times a week. So you want to try to make better choices when you go to fast food restaurants, mainly because all of the sodium that comes in that processed food. All right, so let's look at ChickfilA. And ChickfilA is one of my all-time favorite restaurants. So ChickfilA, all chicken, so you can see the fat grams are dramatically lower. There are some entrees where you could stay under those 500 calories, but the sodium is still pretty high. And that's because typically the chicken is going to be marinated in like a brine solution. The breading's going to have sodium in it if it's fried. The bread has sodium in it, and the cheese, if you got cheese on your sandwich. So you could stay within your calorie needs. You could stay within your fat needs at Chick-fil-A, but you're not going to be able to stay within your sodium needs. And that's going to be across the board at any fast food restaurant. So let's look at a salad from Chick-fil-A. It's obviously going to be a healthy choice. Only 200 calories, 6 grams of fat, 650 milligrams of sodium. But that salad is without the dressing. Once you add the dressing, you're going to add sodium. And sometimes you're going to add fat. If you got a regular ranch, a ranch dressing is very high in fat, so you're going to add a lot of fat and a lot of sodium. The light balsamic vinaigrette is going to add the least amount of fat, but it still adds about 400 milligrams of sodium. Still better than some other choices, but the sodium is really what's going to get you there. So, the best choice, there are good choices that you can make at fast food restaurants, just like I said, the kids meal from McDonald's. Or even if we go back, the kids meal from Chick-fil-A, if you got the fruit cup instead of the fries, there's only 730 milligrams of sodium. So that would be a good choice. But if you could prepare your meal at home, you can cut out most of that sodium. You're still going to get roughly the same amount of fat from a chicken sandwich, but you control the seasoning, and you have the chicken breast that doesn't have any sodium in it, and you can season it with something sodium-free, and you can make a whole meal that has a sandwich, because those numbers I showed you before were just the sandwich. But here you can have a sandwich, you can have chips or a yogurt, and then a piece of fruit. I put an apple, and it still only have 527 calories and 500 milligrams of sodium, which would be within our Live Better criteria. So just see that 533 calories in a whole meal made at home versus 1,350 calories just in the sandwich from a fast food restaurant. Say breakfast. How's breakfast when you go out to eat at fast food? I know it's quick and easy to go through a drive-thru, but there's some options that are healthier than others. These are just examples from McDonald's. You can just see the sausage biscuit with egg. Has 530 calories, 34 grams of fat, and 1,100 milligrams of sodium, just in the sandwich. So you're starting off your day, and you're almost at your sodium needs for the whole day, in that 1,100 milligrams. So a better choice would be a fruit and yogurt parfait at McDonald's. It only has 150 calories, 2 grams of fat, and only 75 milligrams of sodium. So there are some good choices at fast food restaurants. You just have to be conscious and make that choice. All right, so these are some quick and easy healthy breakfast options for at home. whole grain cereal with a low-fat milk, and low-fat, I mean skim or 1% is what we consider a low-fat milk. We used to have a friend, and she would pack cereal. She would put cereal in like a big plastic cup, not a styrofoam cup, but a plastic cup, and she would pour milk in it and take it, and her kid would eat it in the car on the way to school. I know other people that would take their cereal dry to work and have a cup separate, just like you would mix like a thermos with a soup, and then they would just mix their cereal at their desk at work, or take their oatmeal and mix it up at work. So those are some easy breakfast options. Granola bar is my go-to breakfast just because I'm usually running out the door, so I grab something like that. Or you can do a protein bar if you want something to help you feel a little bit more full. A yogurt smoothie or like a yogurt parfait are good choices. That's something you can make the night before and just grab it out of the fridge. Fruit is something easy to have for breakfast, and that's another way to get in your fruit every day. Because as we saw earlier, most Americans aren't eating enough fruit. So breakfast is one of those places where you can incorporate a fruit, and it's quick and easy. Making something like peanut butter toast or eggs. We have a little plastic, we got it for Christmas one year, but you just crack an egg open, put it in that, stick it in the microwave, and it's like a poached egg, and then you can put it on a piece of toast. So something like that is quick and easy, and it's not going to be a lot of calories. And it's certainly not going to have a lot of sodium in it. All right, so back to some fast food nutrition facts. Condiments. So condiments are going to be things like sauces, dressings. These are some examples from two chicken places in town, ChickfilA and Zaxby's. Some of their sauces that people get as a side. You can see the calorie levels listed there. You can also see how some of those are very high in fat. So remember our Live Better guidelines for an entree, we wanted it to have less than 20 grams of fat. This one pack of ranch has 20 grams of fat in it. If you're diabetic, most people aren't going to count condiments as a carb choice. They usually count their food as a carb choice, but some condiments have a lot of added sugar, and so therefore they have a lot of carbohydrate in them. So just to know, diabetics, if you like something like honey mustard or a Polynesian sauce, you might have to count it as a carb choice. But once again, looking down here at the sodium, some of these can add lots of sodium. And if you are already at 1,100 milligrams of sodium and you had one buffalo sauce, you're up to 1,800 milligrams of sodium in just a meal. And this is why kidney disease and heart disease are the #1 killers in America, because people get way more sodium than their bodies need. So condiments can add a lot of calories, but they can also add a lot of fat and sodium to your diet. So my tip is to use condiments sparingly. Try to cut back on the amount that you use on your food. And if you're trying to diet or lose weight, this is something easy you can cut out, just to cut out 100 or 200 calories. Because like I said earlier, it cuts out 500 calories a day to lose weight. And if you had 2 Chick-fil-A sauces, that'd be 280 calories right there. All right, what about some meals? So far I just showed you nutrition facts for just sandwiches, but now we're going to get into the whole meal. So this is for Zaxby's. Pretty popular chicken place. I would say my husband eats there at least once a week. These are the nutrition facts for some of their meals. You can see that these 2 meals right here have more calories than the average American needs, or more milligrams of sodium than the average American needs in a whole day, just in that one meal. You can see also that they contain a lot of fat, and if you're diabetic, they can also contain a lot of carbohydrate. So the kids' meal at Zaxby's is one of the better options, but it still contains a lot of sodium. And so these meals, the good news is they actually included 1 sauce in these guidelines, so it's the food plus one of the sauces. So just know, if you're trying to lose weight, or if you have problems with your blood pressure, there's a lot of sodium found in restaurants, especially fast food restaurants. So let's look at their salad. the thing with Zaxby's, the reason why they have so much sodium is because, once again, their chicken is marinated in a salt-type brine. So the chicken adds a lot of sodium to whichever meal. So that's why the salad still has a lot of sodium. And their salad includes cheese, bacon, and the Texas toast, which also includes a little extra sodium. You can see by switching dressings, though, and going to a light dressing, you do save some calories from fat. All right, so how to order smart at fast food restaurants. Kids meals versus the value meals. So the value meals are going to give you more fat than you need, more calories than you need, and more sodium. So a kid's meal is a better option. The portion sizes is going to be what is more like what we would recommend for a meal. Limiting the sauce and condiments. Substituting fruit or a salad for the fries. Ordering grilled versus fried. Don't drink your calories. So we talked about all those calories that came from just food. We didn't even talk about drinks. So if you got something sweetened to drink, like sweet tea or regular Coke or lemonade, you're going to add extra calories. So try to do the diet lemonade or a unsweetened tea or a half and half tea. That'll save you half the calories of a regular sweet tea. Sweet tea can have just as much calories as a regular Coke. And then anytime you can skip the cheese. If you can live without the cheese, skip it, because it's going to add extra calories and it's also going to add some sodium. All right, so what about restaurants? So we talked about fast food, didn't really find a whole lot of healthy options, but what about like a sit-down restaurant? Is their food going to be any healthier? What do you think? Yes? And get a kid's. Okay, it is according to what you order. As somebody out there said. All right, so I picked another restaurant in Thomasville, Longhorns. This is going to be across the board at any restaurant. So this is just an example. So there's 2 entrees that are listed that aren't really good, healthy options. And then I found 2 on the menu that actually fit within our Live Better guidelines. And so those are the healthiest choices. So these, once again, are just the entree. We haven't got to the sides yet. But you can see their baby back ribs and their porterhouse steak have over 1,200 calories just in the entree, and also over 70 grams of fat. And then look down at the sodium. So once again, those are some of the unhealthy entrees, but they also have some healthy ones on the menu. A lot of restaurants now will have their healthier items labeled. They'll have like a light and fit menu, and they'll have a little symbol that goes beside it. So that's an easy way to look for things at a restaurant. But you can see their 7-ounce salmon and their 6-ounce Flo's filet both have around 300 calories. And they're both 200 to 300 milligrams of sodium. So those would both be good, healthy options. You can see the 20-ounce porterhouse. I don't know if when we talked about protein and how it was an important part of a healthy diet, we only need about 5 to 6 ounces of protein per day. So a 20-ounce porterhouse steak would be about 3 times as much protein or much meat as we would need in a day. So watching your portion sizes, getting the smaller portion, so the 6-ounce filet, the portion smaller, a lot less calories from fat. What about the sides? So these are some of the sides that come from Longhorn. So obviously there's some sides that you could choose that wouldn't be very good options, but then there's some better choices. So you can go out to eat and eat healthy, you just have to make healthy choices. The macaroni and cheese would be by far the worst choice up here. It has 610 calories. So if you got the macaroni and cheese and the porterhouse steak, you're right up around 1,800 calories already. But you're also adding a lot of milligrams of sodium and calories from fat. So you can see the difference between the loaded baked potato and the plain baked potato. Okay. So the loaded baked potato has 440 calories. That's going to have butter, it's going to have sour cream, it's going to have bacon and cheese, and it also has 19 grams of fat. If you got just the plain baked potato, it still had 260 calories, but it didn't have any fat. The asparagus and the broccoli, the vegetable choices, are both going to be lower in calories. Least amount of fat. They do have like a garlicky butter sauce that they cook some of their vegetables in, but you can still see that it's much less compared to some of the other options. And you can see the sodium is much less. All right, so let's look at another restaurant just to compare, make sure. This is Ruby Tuesday. Obviously, Ruby Tuesday they're famous for their salad bar, which is delicious. Lots of vegetables and fruits. So some of their entrees, you can see they have a lot of calories in just the entree, a lot of grams of fat, and a whole lot of sodium. So just that one entree is more sodium than anybody in this room needs in a whole day. And that's just in one meal. Once again, they do have some healthier choices. At Ruby Tuesday, their two healthiest options were going to be grilled fish. Both of those were going to have less than 500 calories. The salmon is a little bit higher in fat because it's a fatty fish, but that's a good fat. And they have a little bit more sodium, so they must season a little bit differently than Longhorn does. But it's still much less compared to some of the other entrees. With their sides, once again, they have some sides that are high fat. You can see it has bacon and it has cheese. Those are some key indicators that it's going to be high fat, bacon and cheese. But they have some good options. So green beans and zucchini, just vegetables, are going to be good options. They're low fat and they're lower in sodium. All right, so how do you make wise choices at restaurants? These are just some tips. To share an entree or take home half of your meal for leftovers. That can also help you save money if you're sharing an entree. Once again, skipping the cheese. So anything that has a cheese sauce in it, so like the macaroni and cheese, that was not the healthiest option. Or if you can, if you get like a hamburger, try to get it without cheese if possible, just to save on some of the sodium. Order all your sauces on the side if possible. That way you can control the amount you add to your food. Try to drink something calorie-free to drink. Choosing something grilled, broiled, or baked versus fried. Having lots of vegetables as part of your plate. So one of our key dietary recommendations is to try to fill up half of your plate with fruits and vegetables. So eating lots of vegetables or getting vegetables or a salad as a side. And then try meatless entrees. So meat has a lot of fat in it, and so trying to eat less meat, so smaller portions. If you already had meat at your lunch meal, maybe you could have a meatless entree for dinner, or a vegetable plate. If you go to like the buffet, you could just have a vegetable plate. So those are just some options of how to try to make healthy choices at restaurants. The best choice would be to eat out less frequently. When you cook at home, you can control the amount of sodium you put in your food. You can control what kind of seasonings you use, what kind of marinades you use. And so therefore you can cook with less sodium. To try to cook at home more often. So this is an example of a meal made at home. So we looked at kind of some of these at some of the restaurants. 3 ounces of salmon plus a cup of green beans plus a medium baked potato that had a tablespoon of a heart healthy spread. And that's going to be something like Promise, I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, Smart Balance, any of those spreads that use the unsaturated oils. And then a tablespoon of a light sour cream. All those foods, you would have a total of 450 calories, only 13 grams of fat, and 157 milligrams of sodium. And most of that sodium came from the sour cream. So the vegetables are very low in sodium. They do have some naturally occurring in there, but most of the food is added during processing, and that's why restaurant food can be so high in sodium. So quick and easy, cook at home. The salmon would only take about 20 minutes to cook in the oven. The green beans, they have a lot of green beans that you can cook in the bag now in the microwave. They come out delicious. And then obviously a baked potato is something else you can cook in the microwave. So it's not going to be a very labor-intensive meal. You can do any protein like that. So you could substitute a pork chop and trim the fat off of it. You could do a grilled chicken breast. So there's lots of food that you can do that are quick and easy at home. You just kind of have to think about it and buy those foods so that way you have them in your house and you don't have to go out to eat as often. All right, so healthy snacks. What are some healthy snack ideas? So you really want to think of snacks as ways to get in those food groups that are underconsumed. So those food groups that you're lacking. So say you're a person that just doesn't eat a lot of fruit, you just never have, and that's going to be one of your goals that you want to work on. You just want to increase your fruit. Maybe have fruit as a snack. Or say you never have nuts. Nuts are a great nutrient-dense option. They give you lots of vitamins and minerals. They do have a lot of calories in them, so you don't want to eat too many servings, but they're a great little snack in the afternoon. Popcorn's another healthy, low-fat snack. Granola bars, you can find one you like. There's tons out there that are good snacks. So all these on the board have roughly 100 calories or less. Some of the granola bars you can get up to 200 calories, and that's fine for a snack, especially if you're a guy. But just think of snacks as ways to get in food groups that you're not getting in your meals. You can see there's things that people probably have in their pantries and use as snacks that aren't on here. Those are going to be things like potato chips. I'm not saying never eat a potato chip. There's certain times where you go to a tailgate party and you have chips and dip. That's totally fine. Potato chips aren't going to give you a lot of nutrition. They're not a nutrient-dense food, so it's not something you want to snack on every day. So, in conclusion, I want you to enjoy your food, but eat less. So smaller portions, especially if you're trying to control your weight. Focus more on nutrient-dense foods, so foods that are going to give your body some sort of nutrition, whether it be calcium, whether it be protein, whether it be vitamin D. Reduce your sodium intake. So as we saw in the nutrition facts, you get a lot of sodium from the food that you eat. So try not to add any extra salt at the table, especially if you have problems with your blood pressure or if you have a family history of heart disease or kidney disease. Limit your calories from added sugar. So most people's added sugar comes from either desserts or beverages. So sweetened beverages, whether it be sweetened coffee, sweet tea, regular soda, sweetened fruit juice, trying to cut out those things. And instead of doing fruit juice, do whole fruit. Or instead of doing sweet tea, do an unsweet tea. Sugar substitutes, we didn't really talk about those, but that can be a way, especially if you have diabetes, to sweeten some of your drinks without getting the extra calories or the extra carbohydrate. So it's important to try to, not make drastic changes all at once to your whole lifestyle, but to make small shifts. So pick one thing that you think you could work on or improve on. Or pick one thing that maybe you're not doing that's so healthy right now that you can make healthier, like eating more fruit or choosing a whole grain pasta versus a white pasta. So just small little changes to help shift to a healthier diet. And then lastly, we didn't talk about physical activity, but physical activity is so important, especially as we age, to try to reduce the risk of chronic diseases. It also helps keep our bones healthy. And then physical activity, being physically active, can help you lose weight if you need to lose weight, or it can help you maintain your body weight if you're trying to keep your figure. So that is all I have today. Well, actually, no. So outpatient nutrition. If anybody has a chronic disease that they need managed or help managing, we do offer outpatient nutrition services at Archibald. So if you have diabetes, kidney disease, cancer, if you need cardiac rehab, we also do weight loss counseling. In the future, we will do bariatric surgery, and then we also do general healthy eating. So if you want to come for an outpatient nutrition consult, just get with your primary care physician and he can send over a referral. And then if you would like to learn about any other nutrition topic, if there's anything we talked about today that you want more information about, just write it down on our survey. And that's it. I'll take questions now if anybody has any.
Okay, we do have a question. Any questions, Gina, tonight? Okay.
When you're talking about eating fruits, with dried fruits, be okay as long as you watch sodium?
Yeah. So she asked if when we're talking about eating fruits, do dried fruits count? They typically will not have any sodium. Some do have added sugars, so you might want to just watch and look and see if they have any added sugars. And then dried fruits are very nutrient dense. So for the same handful of dried fruit, you're probably going to get twice as many calories as the same handful of fresh fruit, just because they've been dehydrated, so they don't have all the water, but they have all the calories and the nutrients. So they're perfect, great snacks if you're trying to watch your weight. You just want to make sure you're not going to eat too much, because that'll give you extra calories. But yes, you'll still get all the nutrition from the fruit, just not all the water.
Anyone else, any questions?
All right.
How many carbs should be consumed in one day? How many carbs should be consumed in one day?
All right, well, I have a follow-up question. Do you have diabetes?
No.
No. Okay, so typically carbohydrates, if you don't have diabetes, a general rule of thumb, you can have about 75 grams of carbohydrate at each meal. So roughly 200 to 250, if you're a male, probably 230 to 250, and if you're a female, probably 200 to 230 grams of carbohydrate per day. If you have diabetes, that number goes down just a little bit. So with diabetes, we typically recommend 3 to 5 carb choices at each meal, which would be 45 to 75 grams of carb at each meal. So typically with diabetics, your carb choices go down just a little